Hey there, it's Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid underselling yourself in a salary negotiation as part of landing a new role. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because there's more videos coming out each and every week to make you a more successful professional. So it's my personal and professional opinion that when you're landing a new role, whether you're changing companies or even changing roles within a company, that is your best opportunity to have a massive jump in your salary. So you definitely don't want to miss this opportunity to have a 10, 20, 30, 40K increase in your salary because this is the best time to do it. It's very rare that when we're in a role that we're going to get a massive pay rise. Typically, large and even small companies like to increase our pay, if they increase it at all, in very small increments to keep us hooked and to sort of adjust our salary in terms of industry expectations and benchmarking, but also in line with inflation. So my first tip for getting the most out of a salary negotiation is all about knowing what your number is. So no salary negotiation tactic is going to work if you don't know what your value is, if you don't know what number, what salary you want to get out of the negotiation, and also understand what you deserve to be paid based on your skills, your experiences, your expertise, and the value that you can bring to business with this particular role. I can't stress the importance of knowing your number because if you go into a salary negotiation and you don't know what you're worth, what number you want to get out of the negotiation, then it's hard to know what you're aiming for. It's hard to know if you were successful in the negotiation if you don't know what your goal was in the first place. So tip number one is to understand what is your number. Is it 100,000? Is it 200,000? Is it 80,000? Based on where you are in your career, you need to understand what that is, and you can talk to a recruiter. You can talk to several recruiters to get an understanding for what is the industry benchmark, because every single role will have a benchmark industry average. However, that average is just the average. There'll be people who are paid less for that particular role. There will be people who will be paid more for that particular role. And in some cases, people can be paid a lot more than the industry average. So it's super important to understand what the average is, but then understand based on your skills and experience where you sit on that range. Are you above average, or are you below average, or are you sort of sitting on that average benchmark? And obviously it's my opinion that you should go and try and get as much money as you can out of the role. You should try and get not just the average, but above average. If that is how you see yourself in your career and the value that you can bring this company and the amount of money that you could potentially make this company, then you should be fighting for the amount of money that you deserve, that you're worth, that you can easily back up based on industry benchmarking and where you are in your skills, your professional development, your experiences, and the value that you can bring this company. And you always want to position the salary that you're going after based on the value that you can bring the company. So if you just come out and say, I want this amount of money, and I know that it's a little bit higher than maybe what you budgeted, but this is what I'm worth, and that's all there is to say. That's not going to go over very well. So you want to say, all right, great, I'm aiming for this level of salary, and I've really had a great think about the value that I can bring this role working on this particular project based on my level of expertise and skills in previous roles. I'm really excited about stepping into this role, but in order to do so, I'll be looking at a salary more in this range. And tip number two, in terms of negotiating a salary, is all about asking the company what their budget is. So again, you never want to leave money on the table. Let's say a company has budgeted $110,000 for a particular role. You don't want to then go in and say, I'm looking for a salary of $90,000, because you've massively undersold yourself in terms of the money that you could have made because the company had budgeted for $110,000 or up to that amount. So there's literally nothing wrong with asking. They're going to ask you a lot of questions at the start of the job interview process, whether you're talking to a hiring manager or a recruiter. There's nothing wrong with you asking them, what's the budget for this role, to get a feel for what their range is and understand early on in the job interview process and the recruitment process if you're going to be a good fit for them in terms of what they're looking for and what you're looking for based on what their budget is for that role. Because if their budget is way under, then you don't want to waste your time interviewing for a role that's maybe a bit more junior than they had presented in the job description. But likewise, that can give you a good feel for actually maybe where the industry benchmark has moved for your particular role, to understand that there might be more money on the table for you if you step into this role and you're the successful candidate. So they're the two main tips, right? So that second tip there was all about asking the company what their budget is. But tip number one, in my opinion, is the most important. You need to know what your number is. You need to know what your value is, and you need to be able to confidently ask and stick to getting that number. And lastly, tip number 3 is part of getting the most out of a salary negotiation. A bonus tip today in this video is all about negotiating not just your salary, but other little incentives too. So if you work for a public company, stock options might be something, stock options and equity might be something you can negotiate into your contract over and above your salary. So we talk about negotiating a role. In most cases, we are talking about negotiating your salary. That's your take-home pay that comes in every week, every fortnight, or every month. But there are other things you can look to negotiate as well. The first one is equity. So if you work for a public company, or even if you work for a private company that is looking to go public, you could look to negotiate shares or equity as part of your take-home pay or as part of your package. So if you work for a public company, that might mean that you get given shares as part of your remuneration every single year, and that will accumulate over time. It tends to be locked in and you can't access it for a few years in order to make sure that you stay at the company and use those shares. But that can be a great thing to negotiate into your salary as well, especially if they're a public company. Another really important thing and very overlooked aspect of salary negotiation is all about your bonus range. So almost all roles, when it comes to their bonus, you'll either get 10% of your salary as your bonus, 15%, 20%. These brackets exist. So most junior roles, it can be 7 to 10% of your salary will be your bonus range. But when they send the contract over for you to review as part of signing on for this role, you want to look at what that bonus range is and you want to try and boost it up. Because from my experience, it's very hard to boost your bonus range unless you change jobs and move to a more senior role. But oftentimes in the salary negotiation process, if you're at the point where they're sending a contract over to you, that means you're right at the point of the end. They really just want to get your signature on the dotted line and get you in role. So this is a great opportunity to make sure that you try and negotiate a little bit of an increase in that bonus range to make sure that when that bonus comes through, you're getting more than you would have if you hadn't negotiated it. So I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit subscribe to the channel. More videos coming out each and every week. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.